Wild Berry Ice House, a pastry shop in Qidong, was once a symbol of success and family happiness. The space, decorated in an Instagram-worthy style with pastel tones, pink velvet chairs, and warm yellow lighting, quickly became a favorite check-in spot for the local youth. Li Cheng, born in 1988, was a typical man of the 80s generation, practical and responsible. He worked at a local company, climbing from a regular employee to a mid-level manager through hard work and reliability. His life was simple, like millions of other men. Work diligently, save every penny to support the family, with no grand ambitions or unrealistic dreams. His wife, Erxi, born in 1993, was completely different. She was ambitious, unwilling to live the ordinary life of a housewife. Erxi's dream was to open the most luxurious pastry shop in the city, a place where she could showcase her business skills and become an independent, successful woman. When she shared this dream, Li Cheng supported her without hesitation. He sold all his accumulated assets, borrowed money from everywhere he could, and entrusted his wife with $119,000, along with the promise, "Don't worry about anything. Just focus on making it happen." The $119,000 investment did not betray Li Cheng's trust. Within just 6 months, Wild Berry Ice House became a local social media phenomenon. Long lines of customers formed from early morning, and Instagram and TikTok were flooded with check-in photos against the shop's signature pink backdrop. The first month's revenue exceeded $27,400, an amount Li Cheng would have needed an entire year of work to earn. Erxi quickly became a familiar face on social media, sharing her entrepreneurial journey and glimpses of her luxurious lifestyle to tens of thousands of followers. This success brought not only financial gains, but also a complete transformation of her social status. From a dependent wife, Erxi became a boss lady, admired by many, earning 3 times her husband's income and gaining full financial independence. Power can change a person in ways no one expects. Erxi began showing signs of moral corruption as success came too quickly. She started coming home later and later, initially around 10 p.m., then extending to midnight, and sometimes even staying out until morning, citing reasons like inventory checks or researching new products. At first, Li Cheng was completely understanding, even proud of his wife's dedication to work. He voluntarily took over all household responsibilities, from cooking and laundry to caring for their 5-year-old daughter, so that his wife could focus on developing her career. The real warning signs appeared when Erxi's attitude toward their daughter began to change in a worrying way. She became impatient with the child's innocent questions, irritated when the child cried at night, and frequently complained that having a child was limiting her freedom. One night, when their daughter cried from a nightmare, Erxi lost her temper and slapped the child twice across the face, shouting, "Cry again and I'll kill you." In that moment, Li Cheng felt as if he had been jolted by an electric shock. The woman he loved, the mother of his daughter, now seemed like a complete stranger. Later, online commentators would bitterly note, "When a woman changes her heart, she can be more ruthless than a man." Amid this tense family atmosphere, a new figure emerged, dramatically altering the situation. Xiao Zhang, 18, a college student working a summer job at Wild Berry Ice House, entered their lives. A young man with a bright face, a fit body, and the boundless energy of youth. In the eyes of a 33-year-old woman facing a midlife crisis, Xiao Zhang represented everything she felt slipping away: youth, passion, and unbound freedom. Li Cheng began noticing unusual interactions between his wife and the young employee. They spoke far too familiarly, laughing in a way that didn't resemble a boss-employee relationship. Once, when he came to pick her up, he saw Erxi adjusting Xiao Zhang's shirt in a way that seemed disturbingly natural. Additionally, when Li Cheng called to check in, his wife's voice always sounded hurried and awkward, with the young man's laughter audible in the background. The suspicions in Li Cheng's mind grew so heavy that he couldn't focus on work. On September 2nd, 2025, after a sleepless night filled with repeated messages from his wife saying she was working overtime, he decided to follow her. With a hazy memory of Erxi once mentioning that Xiao Zhang lived in Wenlin Mansion, Li Cheng drove there at 7 a.m., and waited like an amateur detective. 4 hours passed in restless anticipation as he kept trying to convince himself that his suspicions were unfounded. But when his wife's familiar car appeared from the apartment gate at 11 a.m., with Xiaozhang in the passenger seat and Erxi smiling radiantly, all of Li Cheng's remaining hope was shattered. That evening, Li Cheng called his wife again to ask where she was and received the familiar reply, "Honey, I'm doing inventory at the shop." This time he didn't argue. He silently drove to the parking garage at Wuyue Plaza, where the pastry shop was located. He parked in the darkest corner, turned off the engine, and waited in the shadows. At midnight, Erxi's car drove into the garage. Li Cheng's heart pounded like a drum, his hands and feet cold with sweat. He crept closer, and through the fogged-up car windows, the scene inside struck him like a sledgehammer to the head. His wife, the mother of his 5-year-old daughter, was passionately embracing and kissing Xiaozhang. In that moment, Li Cheng felt as if the world around him had collapsed. It wasn't anger that consumed him, it was an absolute emptiness, as if his soul had been drained by someone unseen. He stood there for 10 minutes, staring at the scene of his wife with another man, then quietly returned to his car and sat there all night. The next morning, returning home in a zombie-like state, Li Cheng began examining the family finances with the mindset of a detective investigating a crime. He opened his laptop, logged into their bank account, and discovered a trail of suspicious transactions. Counting from July 2025, precisely when Xiaozhang began working at the shop, Erxi's account had 43 transfers to an account under the surname Zhang. The amounts ranged from a few hundred to several $1,000s, with the largest being $28,000 sent on Xiaozhang's birthday. In total, the transferred sum reached $53,000, nearly half of the initial capital used to open the shop. Immediately, Li Cheng felt like a fool, a naive man who had been deceived and exploited to the fullest. He had sacrificed everything, time, effort, and money to build a pastry shop that ultimately became a playground for his wife's affairs with another man. September 3rd, 2025 would forever be etched in Li Cheng's memory as the last day of his marriage. He woke up at 6 a.m., printed out all evidence of the affair and the transfers, drafted a divorce petition, and drove to Wildberry Ice House with one final hope: to speak to his wife, civilly. He called repeatedly from 9 a.m., sent messages, and even stood outside the shop shouting that there was an urgent matter to discuss. Erxi was inside but refused entirely to come down. Forced to sit on the sidewalk from morning until afternoon, Li Cheng resembled a beggar pleading for a scrap of mercy. Passers-by looked at him with pity, but no one knew that this was a man experiencing the most desperate moment of his life. By evening, as the sun set and streetlights flickered on, Li Cheng realized that the woman he loved no longer cared. At that moment, rage completely replaced sorrow. He noticed the hardware store next door and the gleaming fire axe by the entrance. Li Cheng grasped the axe like a warrior preparing for his final battle. The first swing smashed through the front door, shards of glass scattering like crystallized tears. The screams of employees and customers echoed, but all he could hear was the roar of his own blood. The second swing struck the pastry counter, sending pink cupcakes flying in all directions. Then he smashed every table, every chair, every decorative mirror that had once made Erxi proud to show off to friends. In his frenzy, Li Cheng no longer felt pain or humiliation, only each axe strike as a declaration: this is the end of betrayal. The police arrived 15 minutes later, but by then Wildberry Ice House was no longer a pastry shop, it was a battlefield strewn with shattered glass and whipped cream. The video of the shop destruction spread at lightning speed across Chinese social media. Within 2 hours, related hashtags had garnered over 10 million views. But Li Cheng refused to be passive in the battle of public opinion. After being released from the police station, he immediately created a social media account and began releasing evidence piece by piece. At first came the footage from the parking garage security camera. Though slightly blurry, it was clear enough to identify the two main characters. The second post contained 47 pages of bank statements detailing every transfer to Xiaozhang, accompanied by a bitter caption: $119,000 I had saved over the years. $53,000 ended up in my wife's lover's account. But the biggest bomb was the recovered chat between Erxi and Xiaozhang, in which she called the 18-year-old treasure and used the fateful phrase, "You're like a perpetual motion machine, never tired, huh?" Social media users reacted furiously with comments like, "She got such a good husband and can't even appreciate him. She should be grateful he didn't kill her, and loved people always get treated carelessly." The phrase perpetual motion machine quickly became an internet meme, used to humorously or sarcastically describe sexual stamina. Erxi's reaction to the social media storm only fueled public outrage. Instead of apologizing or quietly waiting for the scandal to blow over, she confronted it head-on, posting intimate photos with Xiaozhang at the shop with the provocative caption, "Life is just an experience. Love fully and live wildly." When a user sarcastically suggested she change her bio to post-9070s divorcee, no kids, and a post-00 perpetual motion machine little brother, Erxi actually did so and replied, "Thanks for the great suggestion." This only poured more fuel on the fire, flooding Weibo, Douyin, and other platforms with waves of criticism. Users could not comprehend how a married woman with a child could display such defiance. Rumors even circulated that her close colleagues had similar relationships with other male employees, turning the situation into a collective scandal. The local court handled the case quickly due to public pressure. Criminally, Li Cheng was fined $7,000 for property damage, but avoided jail time due to special circumstances. More importantly, in the civil ruling, the full $53,000 that Erxi transferred to Xiaozhang was deemed gifts to a third party during the marriage and had to be returned to Li Cheng. Additionally, the original $119,000 capital contribution was confirmed by the court as marital property, with Li Cheng having contributed 95%. Custody of the child was awarded to Li Cheng, as the court determined that Erxi was morally unfit to raise children. The public celebrated the outcome as a victory for justice, with thousands of comments praising, "Finally, a transparent judge, and congratulations to Mr. Li for escaping that nightmare." The story of Li Cheng and Erxi is not merely a scandal, it also reflects a deep psychological phenomenon that many have recognized through the events of this tale. When someone knows they are loved unconditionally, they often develop a sense of entitlement, taking the other person's sacrifices for granted. Erxi is a prime example of this principle. The more love she received from Li Cheng, the more secure she felt to act in ways that hurt him. But it doesn't stop there. This story also raises questions about the limits of love and forgiveness. Many viewers have commented that Li Cheng was truly fortunate to discover his wife's true nature before it was too late. His decision to destroy the pastry shop was not a reckless act, but a form of liberation from a toxic relationship.